Hey, good morning, Kicksters. You just got a little hint there on the screen of what we're about to talk about. It's Andrew Pitchford on the Morning Kick, and welcome to our Tuesday morning. We've had a long weekend. I was going to say Monday morning, but we're back into a new week, and we've got some great guests lined up. Today, we're going to be talking to Leanne Hughes. Leanne is a corporate facilitator. She is able to run online courses, in-person courses, and we're probably going to find out a little bit about how she's pivoting at this moment with everything that's happening with COVID. But let's welcome Leanne to the show. Thanks very much for joining us this morning, Leanne.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I've got to say, you mentioned that you did have a career in radio, and it shines through in that intro.
You're very kind. I'll go back to doing the jingles at some point. Well, Leanne and I met through mutual friends, and we've kind of got to know each other. And one of the things I've really appreciated is that Leanne is living the life. She's traveling internationally. She's doing the podcast, basically delivering on her passion, which is facilitating great meetings for staff and corporates. Leanne, can you tell me, how did you actually get into this area? It's something that you're obviously so passionate about.
Absolutely. And well, look, we've got 15 minutes, so I definitely have to cut it down. But being in Brisbane, I did what every sort of young girl did and played netball. And later on in my career, I realized that what was keeping me playing the game was actually the team dynamics. I was really interested in that. I studied HR and marketing, and actually ended up going into more of marketing until a boss one day, I was working for a company called Wicked Campers, those famous camper vans that you see. And he started giving
famous
me...
for infamous, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah, famous for the wrong reasons. He started giving me Jim Rohn CDs and all of these personal development books. And that's when it sort of reignited that passion for personal and professional development. Fast forward a few years, I was working in Broome in Western Australia. Definitely recommend regional Australia if you want to actually get skills as a generalist, because there's not many people there. So you've got to try all these different things. And we were looking at running some presentation skills workshops, but we had to fly trainers up from Perth. And it got to a point where I was sitting in the room and I was thinking, I feel like I could run this. And the opportunity came up. Got a chance co-facilitating with a colleague. And just from there, I thought, now this is what I really want to do.
Isn't that awesome? So there was a little bit of a spark there, but then you put a bit of fuel on the fire and it's grown from there.
That's right. And I think, yeah, that's really all about showing up, isn't it? Accepting opportunities when you don't feel like you're prepared just yet.
And do you feel there's been times where you've grabbed the opportunity because the door was half ajar, and there's been times when you've said, no, I'm opening this door, I'm going in?
Usually it's when I'm not prepared, and sometimes I've been very lucky to have a really good support network. At my old job, I worked for a global mining company, and an opportunity came up to MC their big conference. It was live stream to all these different countries at the convention center, really big gig. And I almost said no because I was coming back from holiday, I didn't have a chance to prepare. But two of my colleagues were like, Leanne, you're crazy. You've got to do this. It could change everything. And it did, just by accepting the opportunity and realizing, hey, it's not that bad. Actually, I'm having a lot of fun up here. So very lucky. If it's the internal voice that doesn't drive me, thankfully, someone else around me in my close peer network can just say, give it a go.
Now, listen, you've got to check out Leanne's podcast as well, but there's two ways you can get hold of Leanne. LeanneHughes.com is the website where you can find out about everything that Leanne does and get introductions to some of the services that she offers. Let's have a very quick look over here. And 1, 2, 3, magic of,
Wow.
There we go. Leanne, the website. Tell us what we find at LeanneHughes.com.
Sure. So on leannehughes.com, that's my site for my corporate services for clients, things like virtual training, some of the services and offers I offer around pivot, so pivoting careers. I hooked up with the author of my favorite book, Pivot, last year in New York, and so I'm running those sessions as well. I blog a lot. A lot of the stuff on my blog is repurposed from LinkedIn, and that's what sort of stimulated this conversation with Andrew, was a LinkedIn post. But just a lot of sort of my favorite articles, books I'm geeking out on, recommendations, all related to how you can show up better as an employee in your job, but that also has knock-on effects outside of work as well.
And if you look very closely at Leanne's logo, when you get there, you'll find the hint of broadcasting with a bit of a microphone in there, very sweet. And
Thank
if
you.
we go over to another website, which is the First Time Facilitator, and this is where you can find out about your podcast. I was amazed. You're up to, is it about 114, 115 episodes
115
now?
as of
Wow, that's
yesterday.
awesome.
Yeah, I haven't missed a week. Started podcasting a couple of years ago, and every Monday afternoon at 4 o'clock, I drop a new episode. This podcast started because I went to Canada to deliver some leadership training. I was the only female in a room of about 30 male miners in a town called Fort McMurray. And on the first day, I had a participant that just didn't want to participate in an activity, and it really threw me. So when I got back home to Brisbane, I started calling up my facilitator friends and was like, what would you do in this situation? And that's what spawned the podcast. So I just talk to great facilitators around the world and ask them how they deliver great workshops.
Listen, this is great advice from Leanne that basically, if you're ever in the position where you're thinking, where do I get the advice from? Start a podcast. Suddenly you're getting all this consulting from all of your guests. It's really worthwhile. Hey, one of the things that really has prompted this conversation has been a post that Leanne put on LinkedIn. It was about Thursday or Friday last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then it was kind of really challenging because I really think that you summed up what a lot of people who are wanting to go online, whether it's in writing, doing video, doing audio, we all get conflicted about how to be authentic when we turn up. And this is the post. Do you want to give us a bit of background, Leanne, in terms of what your thoughts were when you posted this?
Well, my thoughts were prior to posting this, all through the year, I've been very consistent with LinkedIn. It's really great for my attraction marketing. So I aim to post every day, Monday to Friday. But since COVID's come around, I feel really awkward about it. And on Thursday, I thought, right, what can I post now? And there's going to be something related to the podcast or, promoting something that was upcoming, a service. And I thought, this just doesn't feel right for the moment. And I actually was like, this internal dialogue had been playing. I've been out running, walking the dogs, and I was thinking of these words every time I was trying to make a decision. And as a result, I wasn't actually making any decisions. So I thought, look, surely there are people out there that feel the same. Maybe it is just me, but I was seeing LinkedIn was getting very busy. A lot of, I don't know if you've noticed, Andrew, that it seems like, and my friend Dory Clark talks about the messaging cycle. At first it was, how do we all stay productive when we're working from home? Now it's all resilience. And it just seems like waves of content. And I love LinkedIn, but the last couple of weeks, it just became too much. And I decided to sort of switch off a bit. That's what spurred this post. It was just to share what was going on in my brain.
Isn't it funny? I think you're right. Right across all the social channels, traffic is up. On Google, search traffic is up. Basically, because we've got so much time to actually look at things rather than maybe going for that run or going out to the cafe with friends. But coming back to some of the things that you're talking about here, they're very real. When I look at comments like, if I show up optimistically, it may seem that I don't have empathy. There's real conflict as to what we deliver at the moment on LinkedIn. And we can get into that paralysis of analysis where we actually do nothing. Now, you quoted in one of the comments a famous quote, and I've forgotten what it said, but it talked about our imperfect self versus our perfect silence. That was brilliant.
Petra Kolbar, she wrote a book called The Perfection Detox. And the quote is, the world needs your imperfect voice, not your perfect silence.
That's absolutely stunning. But as I was looking at your quote, I understood exactly what you were trying to say, because when you look at some of these comments here, if I offer a free webinar, I'm just adding to the noise. And there's a lot of noise out there at the moment, and a lot of people are offering webinars. But there's still the generous Leanne that wants to give something in this situation. And then there's the comment, if I offer a paid service, I'll be perceived as opportunistic. But hey, you've got a business and everybody else on LinkedIn has a business they need to be running. So we still need to deliver on these things, don't we? So how do we find that true self and keep moving forward?
It's a good point you raise about finding your true self. The free webinar, I offered a couple of free webinars as soon as this all hit. And as you said, Andrew, they had heaps of people sign up. I got a lot of email addresses, which is great. And it was all about offering a service to my listeners and the community. And it is interesting when you look at paid. I think the reason why paid has come up for me as a bit of an issue, and I notice when I have conversations with small business owners, they feel the same. It's because a lot of people in our industry are actually just giving away their best things for free right now. And as a small business, it's hard to compete with that when you've got influencers like Gary Vee always throws out great content, and I can listen to him in moderation, but other people are just giving away all of this free stuff. And you think, well, I'm just Leanne in Brisbane. And I know that's like, there's probably a little bit of imposter syndrome coming up there, but I think it's really important to go internal. And there's a Carl Jung quote I want to share that really sort of woke me up to this. And he says, "He who looks outside dreams, he who looks inside awakens." Wow. And for the first few weeks, I have been just looking outside, going to webinars, trying to find someone that's going to solve my small business COVID problem/opportunity. But I think what's more important is, and I've stopped offering webinars at the moment because I need to do some internal work. And you said, how do you discover it? It's by going internal and giving yourself the space to do it, rather than signing up for every webinar, listening to every podcast, trying to find a solution from someone else.
And it is difficult getting that balance. And yet both you and I and business owners, people are actually looking for that authenticity. At the moment, I think that a real honesty needs to come to the surface. We were talking about how Excite Media is going as a business. Well, in all honesty, we've had some people that have had to pause their digital marketing campaigns with us. There have been some people that have needed to cancel. And then at the same time, in all honesty, there has been people rushing us saying, I need a website and I need it now. People want to know that it's not one size fits all, and can you help me in my situation? That honesty is required right now, isn't it?
It is. And to be honest, like my position on LinkedIn is whenever I post something, I think of my criteria is this helpful to someone else? So that's always been my criteria. It's not about me. It's about, would someone reading this find this interesting? With this post, though, this was really an honest post. And after 5 minutes, Andrew, I actually felt like pulling it down because it was so honest. It was one of those things where, I don't know, if back in the dating days, you send a message and then you just leave your phone in another room and just leave the house, right? It was kind of like that. Just post it on LinkedIn and leave, because I've never really been that open on that platform before. Yeah.
But then I see the comments that people got, and you actually resonated with a lot of people that were going through the same thing. So in some ways, you raised a flag that needed to be raised. And
here we are today talking about it. So this is the thing. It's I had to back myself to post that and keep it up. But exactly, it's opened up the conversation, and I'm so relieved that other people feel this way. The comments were really interesting. There were a couple of parties that also said, "Hey, don't worry about what people think at all." And I think communication is two-way, and I think, especially when I facilitate workshops, you're constantly contextualizing what you're saying so it resonates with your audience. So I feel like there still needs to be some kind of litmus test, like in your own way, to make sure that you're communicating to the right people.
So let's talk about you and I, because we have to kind of face up and do things at times when we're out of breath, out of time, just feeling like life is sucking too much out of us. And I actually like the fact that you said, what about spending a couple of hours watching Schitt's Creek, and basically just sometimes having time out. And then you've got to pull yourself out of that and get up there. What are some of the things that you use to actually activate yourself? It's not all about coffee, is it?
No, I love coffee. I definitely miss my cafe. So what it is for me is actually other people. And I think Gretchen Rubin talks about this in her book, Accountability. My accountability to myself isn't that great, but it is really good for other people. So at the moment, I'm running a first-time facilitator boot camp. And I think there was one morning, I had it on the afternoon. I just wasn't feeling up to it, Andrew. I just would love to have watched a whole season of Schitt's Creek that day. 4 o'clock came along and I was like, got ready, I got on the call. And afterwards, I felt amazing. So I actually am an extrovert. I get energy from other people. So a couple of things that I've done to figure out what I should offer next, and to make sure I'm paying attention to my audience, playing on the fact that I need to be around other people, is I started a global listening tour last week. So that's just 20-minute phone calls in Calendly, a couple of days. I've got some listening tour happening today as well. It's like spinning the roulette wheel, because people book in, you have these amazing conversations that last 20 minutes like we're having right now. I'm getting detail and listening to what people are thinking and feeling, what their opportunities and problems are. So I feel like it's kind of productive because I'm paying attention. But also I find in situations like a crisis, we sort of fall back on what our strengths are. And Andrew, yours is doing this. I mean, listen to your voice and the way that you're running this interview. You're amazing at it. It wouldn't be the same fallback for other people. My fallback is my relationships with people. That's what keeps me motivated. So I think it's really important. This is a real self-awareness question, is what is your strength? What are you most drawn to? What gives you energy? And use that as a fallback to then drive your business forward. And these conversations, they may, like I said, in the short term, they may not seem productive, but I'm getting really good insight. And back in the normal days, I'd never have the time to do this. So yeah, but also, yeah, Schitt's Creek in the evenings. It's such an awesome show. Have you seen it, Andrew?
I've seen a couple of episodes, but I haven't got right into it. It's funny,
Yeah.
last night I was looking for what's the next, season-based show that I can watch. So you might have got me on a hook on the line.
Give it a couple of seasons. People sort of watch a few episodes and think, what is this about? It takes some time to grow on you.
Now, here's a little thing, and I really want to build on what Leanne's just said, is that finding what works for you is important. We joke about it. Put a microphone in front of me and I'm away. Put an audience or a group that she can facilitate in front of Leanne, she's away. Now, for an introvert, it may be, in all honesty, preparing some detail or maybe putting together a document that's going to help you in delivering. So find what actually activates your passion and start working on that, and then see where it will take you. But be willing to share your passion, and you're probably going to find it's going to connect to you for business as well. So there's some great advice there. Leanne, thanks so much for joining us. And I hope that people are going to connect with the First Time Facilitator podcast and get some of the value. You've got amazing guests from all around the world. So let's make sure that people can find it, and we'll quickly go back to sharing over here. And this is the website that you go to for the podcast, thefirsttimefacilitator.com. And then you've got leannehughes.com. Leanne, thanks very much. It's been absolutely wonderful having you with us this morning. And
thank you, Andrew.
We'll get you back again.
Yeah, geez, you're doing so well. It's so amazing that you're running these huddles every day. Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, isn't she amazing? She's given us a lot of insight into exactly what you can be doing and finding your passion and actually working with it. So we'd encourage you to actually get out there and start doing something that you are passionate about today, and then share it. Now, keep in mind, we're still trying to flatten the curve. So some good news seems to be coming through here in Australia, and we want it to continue. We don't want a second wave. So we're encouraging people, make sure you wash your hands and stay at home, even if it means you've got to run some kind of podcast out of a bedroom with toys in the background. Who would do something as silly as that? Well, one of the things that we wanted to make sure as well is that if you are looking for something to run an assessment on how business is going for you at the moment, that you can use the Excite Media Thrival Plan. So we've put it together at excitemedia.com.au. Just put /thrive on the end, and you'll find a free downloadable Google Doc that will give you a whole lot of checklists that you can run through in your own time. Feel free to share it. It's something that's freely available, no copyright, just download it and use it. And if you're wanting to connect with the Excite Media team, if you go to our website at excitemedia.com.au, you'll find all of these handsome people with crazy backgrounds and interests. We'd love you to go and have a look and find out exactly who are the team behind Excite Media and what drives them with their passion. And we'd love you to find that all at excitemedia.com.au. It's been wonderful doing another edition of The Morning Kick. We're going to be back again tomorrow. Hope that you'll join us as we speak with Neva Reid. Neva is a brand strategist and is going to be talking about where our brands will be going from 2020 and beyond.